coming here was so we could chat about what happened in 2018. So I'll try and give you a sort of abbreviated picture. Because you entered Masaya from the south, and when you came along the main road, that main road continues around and then comes up to Masaya from the south and from the east. And effectively the main road creates a sort of half a ring road around Masaya, and the other side of Masaya, the west side, is the Masaya Lagoon, the volcanic lagoon. So this meant that when the opposition in April 2018 managed to get control of the main road and erect roadblocks around Masaya, they effectively cut it off from the rest of the country for the whole of Masaya was cut off for 2 months, and our side of Masaya was cut off for 3 months. So there was no way for people to get into Masaya to bring produce. The market in Masaya is very important regionally. That was working, but only for people within Masaya. They tried to attack the market, but the market traders themselves set up a sort of vigilante force, and at one point only allowed women into the market for security reasons. So then Masaya became completely full of roadblocks. So we had estimates range from about 300 upwards. So for example, when you go from here to and pass by the Central Park, there would have been 15 roadblocks between where we're sitting now and the Central Park. Many of them manned by people with weapons. So to go into town, this road was completely closed except for taxis that they authorised, and they were taking money from the taxi drivers.
And you guys were here?
When we were here. So to go to town we had to walk down to the nearest roadblock, then pass all of these 15 roadblocks, be asked questions, asked for money, which we never gave, but we were asked for money each time. And if Abby talks to us, she'll tell you about various threats to her, including being held up by guys with guns when she was in the pickup, just accompanied by women, and they threatened to kill her. And in Masaya, the effects were really devastating. I mean, many houses were burnt down of Sandinista sympathisers. The tourist market was built down twice. It's now, you'll see it, I think later, it's being reconstructed. The old town hall was burnt down. It's still just a shell of a building. The building next door, which you may go to today, I think, was completely burnt down and has been rebuilt, and various other government offices were destroyed. And there were some pretty horrible incidents. The two of the worst were in the municipal depot or storage area. Was the sort of last holdout of municipal workers who were guarding all of the computers and town hall records.
The fire trucks, was that?
The vehicles,
fire
yeah. No, not fire trucks, but the vehicles for collecting rubbish. All of the sort of town hall equipment was there, and it was guarded by 11 people. I think 2 of them were women, and they were attacked by an armed group of 200 opposition thugs. They'd been told, because the attack was anticipated, they'd been told by the central government not to use their weapons. They were all armed, but to hide the weapons and not offer any resistance, because they wanted to minimise casualties. So the armed group just came in, captured them all, beat them up, and 2 friends of mine were badly tortured because they thought they knew the whereabouts of the mayor, and they were trying to locate the mayor to kill him. And the mayor was in hiding. And one of them was splayed out on the ground. He was the leader of the guards, was splayed out on the ground. They smashed his left arm trying to get the information from him, which he didn't disclose, and he later had his arm amputated. That was, I think, the 12th of June 2018. The north side of Masaya was then liberated a few days after this, about a week after this, but the south side of Masaya, where we are, was not liberated until July the 17th. And on July the 12th, I think it was, perhaps the worst incident occurred. A policeman was coming home on the main road not in police uniform, but he had his police uniform in his rucksack. And they searched his rucksack, found it, took him away, tortured him for 24 hours, and burnt his body at one of the roadblocks on the main road.
Made a video of it too, right?
They did indeed.
That was where the priest was too?
Yeah, there were
Priest
two.
was great.
The two priests were involved in this. One, both of them now in exile. One of them was filmed or recorded, calling the people who were doing this, saying, "Don't video what you're doing because it's really bad publicity for the opposition if you do that." They didn't say don't do what you're doing. He said don't video it. And then Edwin Roman, another priest at the church that was very much involved in the opposition violence, tried to take away the remains of the body from the roadblock with Alvaro Leyva, the head of the Association of Human Rights Defenders in Masaya, in Nicaragua, he's from Masaya. They tried to scoop the body up, basically the remains of the body, and carry it away to hide the evidence of what happened, and they were filmed doing that. Then we were liberated on July the 17th, and this is the event where, if you read about it in the human rights reports, these repressive forces came in firing at the peaceful demonstrators, which was, completely ridiculous. They were given instructions to only fire if necessary, and also to fire over the heads of the people, and encourage them to lay down their arms or run away, which most of them did. And we still don't really know the number of deaths that day. I think officially it's 7 or 9, but it may be more than that.
And they mined this road, hadn't they?
Yeah, there was a mine on this road, and one policeman was killed that day as well. So altogether 5 police officers were killed in Masaya by the opposition. So, don't know whether anybody's got any questions, but that's a sort of 5-minute history of what happened in 2018.
Pretty concise.
That's a very concise history.
Just a little more details on,
Sure.
on the liberation of Messiah. Who took part in the liberation, and how did they organize
It was
themselves?
organised by the police, and then they had a lot of volunteer police who were in many cases ex-Sandinista fighters from the, getting on quite a bit, some of them from the 1980s, and other volunteers. And they approached the south side of Masaya from all the points of the compass simultaneously. So they came past here at 5:30 in the morning, and then sort of all entered Masaya at the same time. But Masaya was probably the place, or the south side of Masaya was probably the most heavily defended place in Nicaragua, apart from perhaps Diriamba, Hinotego, near to where you pass through on the main road today. Those are the 2 centres of most violence during that 3-month period.
Are some of these perpetrators still around in your neighborhood?
Yeah, what happened was that some fled to Costa Rica, some went into hiding, some were arrested. The ones that were arrested were all released in the amnesty of June 2019, including ones who committed murder, so that there are people who committed murder or other violent acts walking the streets of Masaya now. And the ones who since then have kept their noses clean, as it were, haven't been affected. I mean, obviously they're kept under watch, but I mean some of them are working and running businesses. One of the 2 people who declared the independence of Masaya in June 2018 is running a delivery business. The others in exile in the US. So those that were imprisoned and then released in 2019, if they kept their noses clean, they're still free. If they didn't keep their noses clean, they were then re-arrested in many cases in the run-up to the elections in 2021, and that's what led to 222 people being shipped off to the States in 2022, I think it was, wasn't it, Becca?
2023.
23. under this deal with the Biden administration to release them from prison.
So, just a quick question. What was the complicity of the U.S. during
Yeah, thank you.
2018?
Well,
I mean,
enormous.
no,
Enormous.
I know
wasn't
that's-
complicity, it was led and funded by the
Yeah,
U.S.
I'm trying to be polite.
But the evidence.
John's not an American, don't
Yeah, no.
No, we want to be able to share as much
Yeah.
credible evidence as
Yeah.
I'll
possible.
reframe the question.
Yeah.
You can reframe the question.
I
That's
mean,
fine.
the government knew that the US was funding these groups, but I don't think it knew on what scale, and certainly wasn't aware of how prepared they were for in April 2018. For example, we know that they were buying equipment and they were shipping in arms. Suddenly in the middle of April, tens of thousands of these handmade mortars were available. Well, obviously they'd been made, over a period of months, because they're not something you can knock up overnight. And when we one day in Messiah, we were on a peace demonstration, we got attacked by people who were firing these mortars and throwing stones, and they had huge piles of stones, that had obviously been delivered. So the preparations were taking place, and this is why the government has been so careful since then, and why what's described as repression in the mainstream media has been necessary to avoid this violence taking place in the country.
Just one logistical question, John. Sorry. Where should we tell the people to wait for us as we get into Monimbo?
They're waiting for us. They're waiting for us at the San Jeronimo roundabout, because where we're going is about a block from there. So we have to go by 9:30. We have to be back at the San Jeronimo roundabout, which is the entrance to Messiah.
Yeah, but we're in. Well, basically, we get into Monimbo, and then what do we do to get to the San Jeronimo?
I can do that.
Well, they're working on it now.
Okay, I'll go deal with that. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry about that.
It's all right.
A little logistical.
Yeah.
Just ask another question. The original sort of blueprint for color revolutions post 9/11,
Yeah.
because there've been color revolutions going back.
Sure.
Was like in Yugoslavia and Serbia, and utilizing students, and we're talking like 2000, utilizing social media, which was kind of new at the time. So by 2018, social media has really developed, and there have been color revolutions in Ukraine in 2005, in Georgia. How was social media utilized
It was
here?
this. I think by 2018, as you're suggesting, really, they'd refined their methods. So there was this massive social media campaign that hit. Facebook is the most widely used social media here. It certainly was in 2018. Facebook, millions of Facebook posts saying that students have been killed. They were using examples of people who died of natural causes, or people who are out of the country. Just absolutely blasted social media, and this particularly obviously mobilised students and made a lot of people uncertain about what was going on, which was presumably part of the objective, so that people initially were thinking, my God, the police are killing students, this is, there were so many reports of it, a lot of people believed it was really happening.
So you even had Sandinistas coming out in the streets at first, right? What's going on here?
Yeah. And it was really, it took really, I always think of the big march on May the 30th, there were two big marches in Manawal, as an anti-government one and a pro-government one. And several people died that day as well, including Sandinistas. And it always seems to me that was probably the turning point, when people began to realise how violent the opposition was, and what faced them if they really backed the opposition, and that's when their support began to drain away. Mm-hmm. And in a way, I think that's why they became even more violent, with these acts of torture and so on, and attacks on police stations, which occurred mainly in June. The fatal attacks on police stations, they were attacking police stations all the time, but they succeeded in attacking several rural police stations in the central part of the country, and killing police officers. And I think that was to try and provoke a panic in the population that the police were no longer able to protect them.
And this was going on many places around the country
Yeah,
at the same time.
the whole, well, I say the whole country, it was patchy because, for example, in San Juan del Sur and the main tourist areas, there was much less support for the opposition because obviously people realised this wasn't exactly very good for tourism. And but in the central part of Nicaragua, it was organised by two particularly obnoxious characters, Medada Marena and Francisca Ramirez, who were the two leaders of the so-called campesino movement.
The Caribbean coast was also very isolated.
Yeah.
For example, because months after that, I was in Pearl Lagoon and I saw this bakery and I saw these art supplies and stuff. And I said, oh, maybe I'll buy some for my niece. And she said, no, I use this as therapy for kids because it was really, really stressful because no supplies were coming in from the coast, neither to Pearl Lagoon or Bluefields or Corn Island. So there, and people were, you know, and the trauma of what was happening, you know, and that was
Yeah, it's worth just remembering, mentioning one particular character who I think is the object of particular hate. That's Medada Marena. He was behind several of the attacks on police stations in the central part of Nicaragua, which culminated in the attack on the police station in Morito, which casually was passed in with only a few days ago, and there 5 people were killed. He was arrested the next day trying to leave the country, catching a flight to Los Angeles at the airport. Denied everything. All the evidence was found on his phone. He was imprisoned, found guilty and imprisoned, released in the amnesty, even though he was responsible for many deaths, and was then campaigning for the opposition. Arrested again for organising more violence, was shipped to the US as part of this 222 that left in early 2023, and since then has been appearing at the United Nations talking about human rights in Nicaragua and you know, the repressive government.
Is that the kind of rhetoric the opposition group uses? Is that we're pro-democracy or
Yeah.
that general line? Is that
Yeah,
what they,
that's right. Pro-human rights, pro-democracy, you know.
that's how they get people to come with them? Is
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a lady down the road from me that cuts hair, and she was living in Jinotepe, and so her husband, you know, was crossing one of the things to try and get to work, and they saw something Sandinista on him, and they just shot him in the head. I mean, it was just,
Yeah.
but she never told people about that until later, because she was just so afraid.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was just-
yeah.
it was,
So you and Abby were like personally in danger and traumatized. Maybe you're still feeling some of that trauma, but how do you feel about how things are settling down now?
Well, during that period, I used to go out sometimes to look for food because we were short of food. And once I went that way up the way you came, because in Mazatepe they were selling stuff, and I went in there were roadblock and in that way until you got to the main road, but I always went by dirt road, tried to get there, and I went with my mom. And on the way back, like 1.5 kilometers away from home, there was a huge tree blocking the road, and it wasn't there when I went up. So I braked very sharply, and I saw a girl in the hill, and I said, "Can you lend me a machete to cut the branches and try to go through with the pickup?" And I saw her. She wouldn't answer, but she phoned, and I didn't think it was something bad. So I waited like 5 minutes, and she never lent me anything. And then I walked like probably 100 meters from where that tree was blocking the road, and it was a lady, like probably 70-year-old lady, and I said, "Can you lend me a machete because I need to go to my home?" And she said, "No, I can't," she said, "because they can kill me if I do that to you." And I said, "But you know I live down the road." And she said, "Yeah, but they can kill me." And I said, please do it, because I'm with my mom in there. My mom was 82 by then. And eventually I convinced her, and she lent me the machete, and I started to cut. When I started to cut the branches, there was like 25 guys are surrounding us. And they told me why I was destroying the roadblock. And I said to them, I need to go to my home. But only my Lord said was because they started to tell me all sorts of rubbish, and they told me, do you want to die here now? And I said, yes, you can kill me now, but think about that. I said, because I got family and I got people behind me. I'm not on my own. And one of them tried to scare me with guns, heavy guns. And I say, if you're going to use it now. Don't do that to me, he said. And then I just told my mom, going to the pickup, and I don't know how I managed. It was a 4-wheel drive pickup, and I just jumped into that tree, and I came here, and John says, the last time you're going out from home, you will never go out again. And it was pretty horrible, because they used to go past here and throw bombs that came on the patio, and the house will move like it was a tremor. And we were in the list that they said the house was going to be burned. John had to put all his documents in the rucksack, because we were thinking that if they came to kill us, we have to run away, and I have to make sure to put him in a safe place.
And you feel safe now, Abby?
Oh yeah. After the caravan, the peace caravan came, I was the happiest day of my life. I was praying in my bed about 5:30 in the morning, and I heard something going past
They
the
came
road.
from down here.
Yeah.
Yeah, they came from where we turned
Yeah.
left to come here. That's where they entered.
The peace caravan, they call it?
And I,
No,
No.
the
The
rescuers.
police caravan.
Yeah.
And police and volunteers.
I
and-
heard pickups going past, and I just stopped praying, and I ran here, and I went to see, and I said, Mom, they're going to liberate us today. We're going to be free. It was so nice to see that we were so happy. For me, it was the happiest day of my life. It was really, indeed, the happiest day of my life when I saw the peace caravan coming here to liberate us. And
Happier than the day you met John?
The irony was that when we walked towards the gate, there was a guy there with a mask on, completely in black with a big weapon,
and we were so
and
happy
we were
to
so happy to see him.
Liberators.
I saw that we always felt safe in this place, and anywhere we go in Nicaragua, we always been safe. There is no problem to walk anytime, day, late night, nighttime, anytime you can walk along the road without any problem at all. So I just felt like this is the right place to stay, because this is a free country, and I can go wherever I want, and I do whatever I want in this country. So, but it was a hard time, those 3 months of the roadblocks, though.
Thank you for sharing that. That's difficult.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think you better go now.
Yeah.
At least we
in
got
time.
a little
All right,
bit,
we're-
but, yeah. But maybe we can get together. Some of the people are staying. longer.
3 of us are staying an additional week.
Uh-huh.
We're not sure what we're doing. We're thinking maybe go to Bluefields, maybe go to Ometepe.
By all means, come and have a look. You know, we could show you what happened in Masai or something. I don't think you had a chance to go around Masai when you came last time, did you?
No,
Sarah?
no. So
We can plan something.
yeah,
If
that's
they
what I'm
if they don't
thinking.
go to the coast, we'll plan
I'm
something.
thinking that would be great if we could maybe arrange to Dan and I and Doug are going to be here to
Well,
do
you're very
it.
welcome.
That'd be great. We'll be in touch. Maybe join us if we do that. He does kind of a walking tour. I had kind of what happened there.